101.5.
The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Mother's Day weekend, Donald Trump in Wildwood today, and all kinds of festivities happening. Leave it to Trump to upstage Mother's Day. Did you ever think about that? Oh, come join in the fun for the next 3 hours right here. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Also heard on 1450 AM and online always at WPGTalkRadio.com. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us for the next 3 hours. And yes, it will be lively. That's for sure. And, of course, the number here in the studio, 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. And we especially want to hear from you today if you're going to the Trump rally. If you're going to be there, and if you are there, you certainly are welcome to call in. We do want to hear from you. So that's on the table as well. 609-407-1450. A lot to talk about here today on the show, and we'll get into all of it this morning here on Talk with a Purpose. I'll tell you, if you've followed this Trump Stormy Daniels trial, it is one of the most revolting and disgusting pieces of legalese I have ever seen. You know, I understand that it got pretty graphic during portions of the trial. And I want to ask you this, and I'm going to ask it again probably many times during the course of the show. What does Stormy Daniels and the encounter have to do with the trial? Because the trial is for hiding money or falsifying documents or whatever the case happens to be. And Stormy Daniels is up there. I tell you what, I would have wanted to be a fly on the wall. Wouldn't you? A porn star describing a sex encounter. That is riveting. And they said the courtroom was like really, you couldn't hear a pin drop. That's how riveted the courtroom was. But I want to go back to something, and if you don't know your history, and most of us don't, but Grover Cleveland and Bill Clinton, I want to bring those two up. Obviously, the second one. Grover Cleveland was, prior to Trump, whatever happens here, he was the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in the White House. There was a scandal which almost prevented him from getting to the White House a second time. Grover Cleveland was a bachelor, and what do you think he did? He got a woman pregnant. Oh, my God. Well, back in 18, whatever it was, that was a big scandal. So the slogan back then was, "Ma, Ma, where is my pa?" How do you like that? Yeah, I'm sure it was, a big, big scandal. And, of course, the other one was Bill Clinton. And do we have to say anything about that? I mean, here was a president. You talk about disgracing the office of president. He had sex in the White House. While business was going on, he had sex in the White House. And did you hear? Okay, he was impeached, but he wasn't convicted. But they didn't sue him. He didn't have legal charges against him. I mean, there was nothing. After he left the White House, that's when he became a millionaire, fundraising and the Clinton Foundation and all that stuff. But there wasn't a trial. There was none of the issues that are surrounding Trump. And again, this was in the White House. Remember that famous slogan, "I did not have sex with that woman"? What do you call it, Bill? So, and I digress for a minute because I got to tell you, this is a true story. Stormy Daniels was in my car. Yes, I had a client at the time who booked her for a personal appearance. This was before she was famous, and we were taking her to a radio interview. Wouldn't you like to be in that car, Chris? Lexus is becoming famous, huh? So, and it was a normal conversation. She was telling me she's producing movies and directing and doing everything but starring. And I thought, I was impressed that she really had her act together. But I digress for a minute. This trial is the most ridiculous I've ever heard. And it has everything. Sex, money, cover-ups, Trump's bid for the White House. This trial is absolutely unnecessary, except that it's Donald Trump. And I got to tell you, also, Stormy Daniels, when I had another client who tried to book Stormy Daniels when this was all happening first, it first happened with 16, 17, and you couldn't book her. She was so famous. I mean, she was getting famous for being famous. So it ended up that my client got egg on his face because she canceled that particular engagement, and she canceled several others, and then wasn't taking any more bookings because she had too many, and so on and so forth. But the whole point of this is her motivation was strictly to cash in on the 15 minutes of fame. She got $15,000 for a magazine article that never ran. She got a lot of money from gentlemen's clubs around the country for making appearances. She got all of these things. And for what? What is the point of all this? If it's to say that Trump falsified records to hide this hush money payment, well, then let's talk about falsifying the records. Let's not talk about Stormy Daniels and her being very graphic in the courtroom. And in fact, the judge told her to move on with what she was talking about. Imagine. Wonder if Judge Donio would have liked to be in that. Would have liked to preside over that trial. My God. Talk about a circus. And that's what it is, a circus. And again, Trump fined for the gag order, violating that. And the next step, the judge said he was going to go to jail. And you know what? If he does go to jail, a caller said it last week, that ensures that he's going to win. Because people are seeing through all of this. It is unbelievable what they are doing. I really don't understand it, but I do because it's Trump, and they'll do anything and everything to smear his name and to try to prevent him from becoming president. That's the bottom line. 609-407-1450. That is our number here in the studio. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. We will pick this up in discussion in just a couple of moments. But first, we have Seth Grossman, which I'm sure Seth has his 2 cents that he wants to put in on this. Seth, good morning.
Yes, I do. You're triggering my interest as an amateur historian. When Grover Cleveland ran for re-election in the 1880s, his opponents tried to make sex the center of the campaign, and they had this slogan, "Ma, ma, where's my pa? He's gone to the White House, ha, ha, ha." So that was against him. But what became an even more popular slogan, and that got Cleveland reelected was hurrah for the mom, hurrah for the kid. I voted for Cleveland, and I'm darn glad I did. So he got in spite of that, or maybe even because of that. And when it came to Bill Clinton, the Republicans were right to impeach Bill Clinton, but not over the sex. The real crime and high misdemeanor that Bill Clinton committed in his first term as president, when he was running for re-election, I don't know if you remember, you had these impoverished Buddhist monks gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to his campaign, and they were caught red-handed because none of these Buddhist monks had any money to do it. And it turned out they all had ties to communist China. And after Clinton got that campaign money, the first thing he did was he changed our policy and gave our highest technology to the Chinese communist regime. And they had these missiles that were just blowing up. Suddenly they got their high-tech missiles working again with our high technology. So that was the high treason. So by bringing up all the sex and Monica Lewinsky, all the Republicans did was distract from the real crime and allowed Clinton to really commit these crimes and get reelected and become more popular than ever. So these things usually backfire.
Yeah. And looks like they're going to backfire here.
Anyway, everything we say on the radio, by the way, we post at our Liberty and Prosperity website. Anyone can listen to the recording. But we also have what I wish I had said, which is written there as well. So those posts are on our libertyandprosperity.com website. And if you like the issues, what we're doing, please share them with your friends, or please donate to libertyandprosperity.com, because it costs us money to keep this stuff going. Well, of course, the Saturday Trump rally, 5 o'clock on Saturday, I guess probably the most important announcement I can make is watch out for the parking. Because normally in Wildwood and most shore towns, they don't start the parking meters until May 15th or Memorial Day. But Wildwood had a special meeting of their city council a couple days ago to move up the parking fees to today, and they're charging up to $5 an hour. So if you want to be there for the 5-hour event, you're going to need about 100 quarters in the beach block of Wildwood. And it's amazing how the state government punishes private businesses for gouging like this. But when the government does it, everything's fine. Liberty and Prosperity, we have our meetings every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 10:30 at Sal's Cafe. Normally we have our business meeting, but we're going to have a bunch of our members will be in Wildwood on Saturday, so we may barely have a quorum. What I'm urging, if anyone is going to the Wildwood rally, please pick up our Liberty and Prosperity postcards on wind turbines and the Declaration of Independence. They're at our office at Shore Road by the Dairy Queen and Wawa in Summers Point. We have these waterproof bins. Pick them up, hand them around. It's great to be meeting a lot of people, and this is a good way to spread the Liberty and Prosperity message as well as the Trump message. So we invite people to do that. And I suppose, and of course I will plan to be there, and to compare this with what the Trump rally was like 4 years ago. It's going to be interesting because there should be a much bigger crowd, because the last rally was in January, and even though it wasn't bitter cold, it's probably the weather's going to bring a lot more people to the rally on the beach here. And two things stand out from the Trump rally in Wildwood 4 years ago. I remember how the Democrats and the left were painting all these horrible images of Trump people and MAGA people and how intolerant and awful we were. And I remember meeting several dozen leftists there just trying to taunt the Trump people by insulting them. And they were pleasantly surprised at just how nice and polite and well-dressed and just friendly all the Trump people were. And I think the biggest advantage that Trump got out of the rally 4 years ago wasn't just Trump, but it was how nice his supporters were, and how really how respectful everybody was. The only downside that I saw of the Trump rally 4 years ago was that there were, several hundred, even several thousand people who were not local. In other words, they almost reminded me of groupies following a rock star around the country. And it was hard for locals to get into that rally because you had people who had been camped out for days to get tickets. And when I would talk to those people, some were from Ohio, some were from Kansas. They were from all over the country, and they would just go from rally to rally to be there for Trump, which is nice. But when you're running for election, you don't want people going from rally to rally. You want people working their neighborhoods to get out the vote. So hopefully things may be different this time.
What do you think?
I'm going to find out. I'm really curious, and I'm going to report at our meeting next week and on the program as to whether the crowd was any different, or whether people now realize that it's not just enough to go to a candidate you like and cheer for the candidate. You have to do work. You have to get people registered to vote. You have to go make sure they vote.
That's right.
So it's not a popularity contest. It's in a way it's like a war. And I'm going to be talking to a lot of people and seeing if anything has changed, and hopefully it did.
Meanwhile, that reminds me. Speaking of pep rallies, when I was in high school, one year our team was god awful, and we used to have pep rallies every Friday, and I would say to myself, how is this making the team better? How is it? And like you're pointing out, the pep rally is one thing, but it's a lot more to get the guy elected. So that's just
and I didn't go to any of the Trump rallies in 2016 because they didn't have them in New Jersey. But the people who did go to them said they were very efficient. That when you would go into the rally, they get all your information, they get your contact information, they contact you later and make sure you were out working to get the vote out. They did that in 2016 when Trump won, but they did not do that at that 2020 rally in Wildwood, and I noticed a difference. So hopefully things will be better organized this time. And speaking of organizing, I'll be giving a seminar on how to be an effective school board candidate and how to take back the control of the public schools in your town. And I'll be speaking this Monday, May 13th, at the New Life Assembly Church on Fernwood Avenue in Egg Harbor Township. And I'll be talking about what it takes to be a candidate, whether you have what it takes to be a candidate. The most important thing on being a candidate is how to build a team and be part of a team. Because I always get annoyed when people talk about elections like they're horse races or championship boxing matches, because politics is a team sport. And no matter how good you are, no matter how brilliant you are, you're not going to win an election. And if you manage to get lucky enough to win an election, you're not going to get anything done unless you have an effective team and you do planning and preparation. And I'm going to be talking about all my 30 years of experience and the good, the bad, and ugly in politics, and give anyone who wants to learn a detailed explanation of what they have to do. And I have course materials. It should be very informative. This Monday, 6 o'clock, at the New Life Assembly Church in Fernwood Avenue in Egg Harbor Township. Event has been organized by Ethel Hermanow, who got herself elected to the school board with her team last year. So I think it's a very important event. And by the way, did you know that New Jersey has the second highest starting teachers' salaries in the country?
I would believe that. Yeah, I would believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're only seventh in salaries, but because we have such a high starting salary, and because everybody gets automatic increases, we're going to have really unsustainable public schools if we don't get a handle on this. You know what the starting salary, if you just graduate a teaching college, you have no experience, you have no skills, you're going to need a lot of supervision. You know how much you make? $56,000 a year.
Wow. With
your summers off and the best health insurance in the country and a pension. That's what you start with, no experience. And what the teachers union who put this out is saying is, well, it's really not that much because, in New Jersey, what the minimum living wage is in New Jersey? One adult and one child, according to the teachers union, has to earn $73,517 a year just to have a modest standard of living. So that's why they say it's important to pay starting teachers $56,000 a year. But what they don't tell you is, well, what about the taxpayers, the homeowners who have to work 3 jobs to make half that much money? Nobody's going to get that. So the key to a living wage or an affordable wage is to cut the taxes, to cut the expense of government, to cut all these stupid laws that force our businesses to spend more money trying to figure out, what color, sexual preference, and ethnic group that their employee has, as opposed to which employee could actually get the job done. So we have to deal with that.
Boy.
Okay, maybe I just try to squeeze in 3 other topics of one: hunger, wind turbines, and the deaths of that the shooting deaths of black men in Pleasantville in Atlantic City is almost a weekly event. Well, let me just go through them one by one. When you go to you get your mail, you're getting a notice from the post office saying you got to give your letter carrier food because we have a hunger crisis in America. If you go to Acme or Wawa, they're telling you to, check off a little extra box to donate to end hunger in America, as if there's a hunger problem that's our fault. If only we gave more, we can get rid of hunger in America. But we will always have hunger in America, because every time we feed people, the Democrats open up the borders and they bring in more hungry people. So you're never going to fix the problem of hunger in America until you fix the immigration problem. And you can't fix the immigration problem unless we're willing to arrest and deport every person illegally in this country. And illegal includes people who applied and got asylum or refugee status from the Biden administration in complete violation of the law. We have to set up hearings for those people. They got to be detained. They got to be deported, because it's not only causing hunger, it's not only raising our taxes, it's not only lowering our wages, but ordinary Americans can't afford to get married and have their own children because the taxes are too high and the wages are too low because of this invasion of illegal immigrants, which includes, these illegal asylum seekers that are not really seeking asylum, because when you have someone from a Muslim majority country coming to a Christian country where Muslims are minority, how could he or she possibly say we're seeking asylum? It's illegal. It's a joke. So we have that going on. And finally, with the wind turbines, I got some criticism last week when I said that the Republicans have thrown in the towel on wind turbines. And one of the reasons is because proponents are only talking about whales and tourism and not talking about how ineffective and useless wind turbines are in producing energy and how expensive they are. Well, anyway, Vince Serra, the mayor of Brigantine, did go to the Board of Commissioners, and he pointed out those other arguments, and I commend him for that. But we've got to go one step forward. Further, we've got to have county government look into the Atlantic County Utilities Authority, which is lying every day on its website by falsely claiming its 5 wind turbines are producing useful energy, which they're not, by coming up with this fake recycling program where they're taking bottles and newspapers and they're just putting them on ships and shipping them overseas. They're not doing anything for the environment or fossil fuels, and yet we're letting them put out these propaganda-free newspapers every couple of weeks. We're letting them have a website. We're letting them indoctrinate our kids in schools. So I think what the next step for opponents of the wind turbines to sort of crack down and get control of this, this rogue Atlantic County Utilities Authority. So we have that, and I guess the final point. Remember how when a black man in Minnesota was killed while being arrested, or he died from a drug overdose while being arrested, George Floyd became a household word. But once again, in Atlantic City, Thursday night, 30-year-old black man, Basim Taliaferro, shot to death in Pleasantville. Not national news, not even local news. Happens every week in almost every city. It seems Black Lives Matter, or Black Lives don't matter unless they somehow help Democrats win elections. And we have to find out why, and we have to change that and actually fix the problem.
I didn't even hear about that.
No, you didn't hear about it. And you also had, if you look at the Press of Atlantic City, which gets mailed to you the next day, every issue of the Press dealt with a shooting incident or someone arrested for shooting or someone waving a gun. It's a day-to-day event. And the shootings are a day-to-day event. Somebody getting killed only happens once or twice a week. But it's not even news. And pretty soon, people won't even get that. I get the Press of Atlantic City out of habit, even though it's only online and it only gets mailed to you a day later. But I got my renewal notice. It's going to cost me $260 to renew the Press of Atlantic City for only 6 months or 26 weeks. And I don't know how long even I could. It's worthwhile for even me, a news junkie, to keep doing that. So we're losing our media, and these murders are happening, these shootings are happening. But again, unless they advance a Democrat agenda, meaning the black person who gets killed, if he's not shot by a police officer or someone who's white, which is very, very rare, it's not news. It doesn't happen. In fact, it doesn't even get picked up in the crime statistics. You may wonder why the crime rates are going down when you see all these shootings and murders going up around you. That's because the Biden administration changed the policy. And it used to be all police departments were required to submit crime reports to the federal government so they can make their statistics. Now it's all voluntary. So when they say crime is down, it doesn't mean crime is down. It means that the New York City and Los Angeles police departments and many other police departments are no longer reporting their crime statistics to the federal agencies when they come up with their statistics. So the statistics are completely meaningless. Anyway, all this is posted libertyandprosperity.com, and we meet, even though we may have a skeleton crew on the Saturday when you have the Trump rally in Wildwood, but we will be meeting every Saturday, nevertheless, at Sal's Cafe in Summers Point. Have a great weekend.
You too, Seth. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, and the website libertyandprosperity.com. I'm John DeMasi. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. We will talk to John and Bob and maybe you at 609-407-1450. We'll get started with your calls and more of the show after these words.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadea should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadea thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadea even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadea has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadea's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia 22153.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. BF Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, BF Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. BF Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Let's get started with John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning. I was on YouTube, and I saw a YouTube commercial break, and I saw an advert promoting Windmill Energy. Now, hypnotic spiral animation special effects were used, and across the screen it said distortion. And the narrator went on to explain that people like myself are deceived by big oil about windmill energy. And they're saying that the backdrop of wind farms 15 miles out doesn't at all interfere with sun and fun on the beach. A little bit more than that there, super genius. That far out in the ocean, there's a sludge. There's a huge amount of sludge and sill rigs on the ocean floor. And sinking the shafts to those floor bottoms is going to dredge up all that silver-infested mud. But not to worry, though. If you have a turd coming in on the crest of a wave, you just block it away with your arm. That's all. If you got a bunch of turds and it's the size of a surfboard, hey, you can body surf to the beach with it, right? It doesn't talk about all that crap. Also, there are wind farms built out in the Baltic Sea, but they don't produce enough wind energy because the Baltic Sea is a very calm body of water. However, the Atlantic is one of the most treacherous bodies of water on the face of the earth. A rogue wave could take out one of those windmills very easily, or you have back-to-back nor'easters and back-to-back hurricanes as well. And also, there's also submarines, Russian submarines 198 miles off our coast. Now, the range of a torpedo is only about 50 kilometers. That's about, not that, it's like in miles, it's like maybe 30 miles, 31 miles. That's not that far, but I mean, what's to stop them from getting it close enough to fire one of those torpedoes or a few of those torpedoes with some nuclear capability in the warhead to take out those wind farms? Or also they have the Poseidon, which can go down to the floor bottom very easily, and frogmen can exit out of the torpedo holes. Tubes rather, and they could plant C4 explosives on the cables that brings the energy from the wind farms to the mainland. Now, you say, well, we can detect that. You know, they have stealth capabilities of being undetectable. Those submarines, nearly undetectable. That's a stealth capability of 21st century submarines. But you know, we can use technology to keep on top of that, of course. But that'll cost a lot of money to do all that. And that's what we're up against here. I was going to say more, but I can't think of anything. Anyway, windmill energy is idiotic. It's an idiot. It's going to make a lot of money for people. They're going to be putting those things up. People are going to make money out of it, but it's not going to produce the energy we need. It can never replace the electric grid. And electric cars is not going to be is not a doable thing either, because the electric grid that we have was built in the last century, and we're already having blackouts now. So if you have cars that run on electricity, what's to say we're not going to have even more blackouts? So it's all ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. We could develop nuclear fission and fusion. Nuclear fusion has leaves no residue of waste. Nuclear fission does leave some residue of waste, but it's actually more safe than fusion. And also we have water power, which is hydroelectricity we could develop. It was actually the 19th century African American agriculturalists and scientists that invented 300 ways to renovate soil and for production of fruits and vegetables, for the maximum production of fruits and vegetables. But we're going to use GMO. It's actually impregnates glyphosate in the foods that we eat, and also it pollutes. It actually destroys the land as well. And we have two American scientists that invented the fusion torch. That's Bernard J. Eastland and William C. Gale, and also it was actually the great American scientist and inventor Nikola Tesla that invented hydroelectricity. So we have four heavy hitters here: George Washington Carver, Nikola Tesla, Bernard J. Eastland, and William C. Gale, or Gale, however you want to pronounce it. But all of our politicians in office can't match those four men in their brilliance. But we won't listen to them. We'll listen to these idiotic politicians. Thanks for letting me call in.
All right, John. Thank you for the call. He shortened his call. Okay. Bob and Cape May. Bob, good morning. Welcome.
All right, John. Hey, look, I guess I'll try to stay on topic. Okay, that's
okay.
Trump rally. All right. So,
are you going?
I'm not going, John, but and you know, look, it's going to be. I would say you're probably looking at 50,000 people.
Wow.
Parking, as Seth mentioned, and of course the crooks in Wildwood instituted the parking meters. That's not why I'm going, the parking meters, but it's just going to be. They open up the gates. I think that they'll be opening up the beach at 12 noon. Trump's scheduled to be there at 5. Well, that means 6:30 probably if you're lucky. Okay, he's always late. But I will tell people that want to go, you will have one of the treats of your lifetime. I went to the Trump rally in 2016 at the University of South Florida Arena in Tampa, and John, it was just insane. There was never, ever a political event that I went to, and I've gone to a few that have come close to that. The amount of excitement that Trump generates, the ability to talk without a teleprompter, to just entertain a crowd is he's an amazing guy. He really is. And we were lucky enough. My neighbor was friends with Trump's Florida campaign chairman. We sat in a VIP room, waited for hours for Trump to arrive. We were able to meet him personally. My wife worked for the Trump organization years and years ago, and the truth that they relay about Trump in this mainstream media is such a lie. The Trump family is a very good family. My wife interacted with Trump's parents numerous times. They were the nicest people in the world. The Trump children, the 3 oldest children, were some of the most well-behaved children she ever dealt with. So, this is the truth about Trump, and it's not the... Look, he's not perfect. The Stormy Daniels stuff is not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We are not perfect people. We're flawed. We are all flawed. But I will tell people, if you're thinking about going, it will be an absolute treat. He's an amazing person. To do what he did, to become president of the United States and never hold political office against all odds, it is really the greatest political achievement in history. It really is.
I would agree.
About what he did.
I would agree. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so I look. The forces that are arranged against Trump are really at work against the American people, against our interests. The open borders, the crime that is engulfing our cities, the good paying jobs that are going overseas, the endless wars that are fought to enrich the military industrial complex. The America First movement that Trump embodies is all working to end that and working to bring government in line with what the American people want. We haven't had that. We are not getting that.
No, we haven't had it. No, you're right. Right.
Again, one topic I do want to suggest for today, and or whenever you want to do with John, is, and it's time now. It's not like we're 2-3 years out. It is time. We all really ought to talk about, and not that we're going to have that much influence, but Trump's VP pick. What is the best pick in terms of continuing the America First movement beyond Trump? Because 4 years go quickly, and is he 78 or 77 years old?
I think 77. Yeah.
I mean, the VP pick is really essential. Are we going to have a VP pick that continues the Trump policies, or are we going to have someone that can be co-opted by the Uniparty, by the Republican establishment, and their Democrat allies? So in 2028, we go back to the Bush family type of Republican. Is that what we really want, or do we want someone that will continue the America First movement? That's a key question. That is really a key question that we should think about.
Based on what you said, I mean, you described Ron DeSantis. But I don't think he'll take it, and I don't think Trump will. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But
I absolutely the most effective governor that the country's ever seen in terms of implementing conservative principles.
Yeah.
But again, if you see the problem is if it's Rubio, if it's DeSantis, if it's Byron Donalds, all very capable. If Trump wins, the Florida delegation of electors in the Electoral College cannot vote for that VP candidate.
Oh,
that's constitutionally.
Okay.
But the point is, see, it may not be a problem. Because, see, if Trump wins the presidency, it's a very, very high likelihood that the U.S. Senate will be in Republican hands. The Senate, if the VP candidate doesn't get the required, I think, is it 270 electoral votes?
Yes.
If you don't get that as the VP candidate doesn't get it, right? Then the Senate decides who the VP is going to be.
Okay.
So if the Senate's in Republican hands, and again, if Trump wins, that should be the case. I mean, the Democrats have like 9 or so more seats to defend than the Republicans in this cycle. The odds are the Republicans are going to win, especially if Trump wins the presidency. The odds are. But now, the off chance that the Republicans don't have the Senate, then you have a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you have a problem.
That's right. Okay, Bob.
All right, John.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450. We will talk to Greg and Absecon after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. We have a couple of open lines, so you want to jump in here. Good time to do that. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. We will get back to more of Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, you know what we talk about now, and with Mother's Day tomorrow, well, hopefully you got something for Mom, but you want to get something else. Let's suggest fruit flowers. And I tell you go in there and you turn to your right, and you'll see this case and really beautiful fruit flower arrangements. And the good thing is you can eat them. And Mom will love it. And I suggest that. And also chocolate-covered strawberries, baked goods. There's all kinds of goodies. And if you want to send Mom a gift basket or a fruit basket, hey, that's the way to go. BF Mazzeo, 601 New Road, Northfield, and online at bfmazzeo.com, bfmazzeo.com. Yes, it is the Mother's Day way, the B.F. Mazzeo way. That's what you do at B.F. Mazzeo. And, of course, all the other goodies, like gourmet items, like specialty foods. I stopped by the Olive Bar last week, and I got a bunch of a container of roasted peppers. Boy, oh, boy, that was delicious. Just another item you can pick from at B.F. Mazzeo. There are all kinds of things, and it's amazing how much they pack in to really a small facility. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. BF Mazzeo, 601 New Road, Northfield, online at bfmazzeo.com, bfmazzeo.com. It's the finest fresh fruit and produce you'll find anywhere. It's baked goods, it's prepared foods, and yeah, for Mother's Day, you got a lot of items to choose from. So check it out. BF Mazzeo, and online at bfmazzeo.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusofAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusofAtlanticCity.com. Or if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at lexusofatlanticcity.com.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadia should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadia thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadia even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadia has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadia's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia 22153.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. For today, mostly cloudy and warmer with a high of 64. For tonight, cloudy with a couple of showers late, low 46. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy and cooler with a thunder shower with a high of 56. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a low of 41. On Monday, sunny, pleasant, and warmer with a high of 70. Monday night, mainly clear, low 53. I'm AccuWeather's Caitlin Lawrence on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Want to remind you that you can always email me during the week, and I do get a lot of emails, jdadv1 at comcast.net. I'll spell that out for you slowly. It's JDADV1, that's V as in Victor, 1 at comcast.net. You can email me anything you like, and I do get a lot of emails. Some of them are good, and some of them, well, but that goes with the territory. You can, we'll take them all on, okay? 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Greg is in Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with the Purpose.
Mr. DeMasi, good morning.
Morning, sir.
To women in the audience, happy Mother's Day. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Our windmills. The further they move them offshore, the more international flags will fly from them. Will we be paying 6 or 7 people bills? Will we receive bills from these people for the use of them? Because we no longer own them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah,
By chance, did you see hear Mark Levin's made comments yesterday?
No, I didn't. No. What did he say? What did he say?
At all?
What did he say?
Oh, he gave a very crisp message to President Biden. There was no confusion on his purpose as it related to Israel. It's a disgrace what he's doing.
Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, definitely.
But what Biden's doing.
Yeah. Oh,
it keeps getting worse. Now they're claiming that some of the armament being used by Israel is illegal to the international community. You know, where the hell is that coming from?
That's
Apparently from us. We gave it to them.
Yeah, another good question. I mean, Biden could very well lose the election on not only all the stuff that he's done wrong, but this thing with Israel. That's
absolutely.
It is a disgrace. It is. Yeah. And a friend of mine the other night, we were talking about it at dinner, and he's a staunch Democrat and a staunch liberal, and he's like, I don't know about this Biden. So I hope he loses them.
My next question to Biden is, or about Biden, do they keep the nuclear briefcase locked up, and he doesn't have a key? I would hate to even think about that. That if he ever got his hands on the briefcase, we never see daylight again.
Yeah, well, he might lose the key. You know, that's another thing.
Exactly.
with his memory loss. Hey, Greg, thanks a lot for the call, as always. Good stuff. Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Well, good morning, John.
Good morning, sir.
And happy Mother's Day to your listening audience's mothers out there. And
yes.
I hope you have a nice day out there. What are you doing, John?
Did you get your wife? You know, I mean, what did you get her? A diamond or what?
Oh, John.
Cool. Well, she puts up with you, so that's worth it just there.
Well, I got to tell you, one time she was in the company with Harry Hurley. Harry said, "Boy, he must be a handful." And she said, "You have no idea." But, if you got a man in your house that's not a handful, then what do you really got?
Yeah.
True?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just want to ask you, did Stormy say my eyes are up here, John?
Well, actually, it was a very nice conversation from what I remember.
I didn't ask you about the conversation.
No, I couldn't. Look, I was driving, so I can't.
Thank God.
I can't, I mean, to tell you the truth, this is the truth. I mean, I thought to myself,
I'm dribbling on your words. I got
no. She didn't do anything for me. I mean, she did nothing for me. I would just say she was a normal person. I didn't really think anything of her.
Yeah, Donnie said it wasn't her type. And listen, same thing with. Did you see the woman from the allegedly got raped by Donnie? That woman, that face.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's not too. I understand when he said that's not my type. It's not my type either. But anyway, we're down here in Georgia. Do you see what's going on there in Georgia? It doesn't look good for Fannie over there, right?
No, it doesn't look good. No,
they want her to testify. She doesn't want to testify though. What's going on over there?
Well, they can force her, can't they? They
can. And then, did you see what else they were discussing down there in Georgia?
No. What else?
They were discussing, the 300,000 votes down there that they said, well, we didn't. We just counted them. Well, did you look at them? No, we didn't need to know that they were actually valid. We just count. Well, who cares if they count? If you count and they're dead people, what good is that?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. And allegedly, a couple states got more votes than they got people allowed to vote. Hello, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, I want to discuss marijuana for a second and the marijuana stores, not particularly in Atlantic City where you're overloaded, but some of these developments like they did in Egg Harbor Township. I'm just watching one, and I noticed in Northfield they're still waiting. It's on year maybe 4 or 5 to even bring it up maybe for a vote. I don't know because, we're not hearing anything about it. But those people that some of the people on council, at least a couple of them in my ward, said if the people voted, I'll support it, but they still haven't brought it up for an agenda. But over here, right down the street over here, at English Creek, they just opened up one. And one of the biggest things that they were afraid of was the crime. So, I get to drive by that area almost twice a day. I got to tell you, the parking lot is busier than it's ever been in that little, 4-store shopping.
Yeah, I know.
thing.
I know.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah,
Probably?
I've seen it, yeah.
It's actually a little busier than Raymore and Flanagan sometimes, isn't it? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
So now we're talking about revenue. So, so the taxes are going to be coming in August, people. And so, like one of those facilities, and if you got a growery, which was one of the things that maybe one of the people with the land that we had there in Northfield could have developed, but now it's a little too late because you know how much residential property went up. But we could have possibly had a growery and a store, maybe 2 stores in Northfield, and we lost that opportunity because the council probably didn't move on it fast enough, or they were a little nervous about, offending some people. But when 67% of the population votes twice
for it,
that they want it, then the council has an obligation to listen. I think the council's all Republicans, and they ran on Pound Community First. Well, that's really, we are the community, the people that vote, so maybe you should listen to us once in a while, not just go off on your own side agenda.
Well,
but, you know what that would bring possibly if we would have had the growery and the stores. Do you know how much Egg Harbor Township gets?
I have no idea.
About 1.6 mil.
Ooh.
Oh, see, so it's not chump change we're talking about here. And a little town like my town, that has a $13 million budget, excuse me. 13,000, boy, would I be happy.
Yeah.
But 13 million, maybe out closer to 14 million this year. People would get like maybe an 8% tax decrease.
That's right.
Or
that's right.
It would offset some of the expenses. Now, people say, well, that's like a one-time thing. No, it's an annual thing. And like everything else, because the cost of a store goes up, and the cost of merchandise goes up.
Yep.
The cost of the product goes up, and the city gets additional revenue.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, they missed the ball on that one. They've really
No, they didn't miss the ball. They missed the whole Super Bowl on that one.
Yeah.
Because now, look, you got all these stores, and we had an opportunity to we had a gentleman that in the Kensington location there made a presentation to the council, and I do believe that they just didn't like what he had to present there because we're still not passed. I can't imagine because the guy was going to put so much money in there, and I thought Republicans were for industry.
Greg, thanks for the call. We're up against it here. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 will begin with Linda and then Andy and maybe you at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 rapidly coming to a close. It's in the books. Hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
5.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Good to have you with us. I'm John DeMasi. Yes, we're lively here this morning. Trump Day in Wildwood and Mother's Day tomorrow, 609-407-1450. Our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. We'll get into a lot more stuff. But again, if you're going to the Trump rally, we want to hear from you. And what's it like? That's what we want to hear. 609-407-1450. Linda in Absecon. Linda, good morning.
Good morning, John. Our daughter and son-in-law is going to the rally.
Good.
Yeah, excited to hear about it. But I'm tired of hearing about the hush money when it comes to Donald Trump. It's hush money then. Now, with all the cast of characters that we have serving our government in Washington, the NDAs aren't even brought up. The NDAs that the taxpayers are paying for, by the way.
Yeah.
They, at one point, they were supposed, because people got a little upset several years ago when they found out that we taxpayers are paying for NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They weren't called hush money then. They were called non-disclosure agreements. But for Trump, they're hush money.
Yeah.
And so they were supposed to find out, and like all of a sudden, your taxpayers are saying, "What? We're paying for what?" And then they were going to unload on us, all to whom all the hush money was paid. Well, when you find out, and I think maybe at some point they said, well, it may hurt some people. Yeah, but Trump doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, he doesn't count as people.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think regarding Florida, that there is an ordinance, and probably surrounding the Constitution. I forget where that ordinance is actually, and but it's backed up by the 12th Amendment that they both can't run from the same state. You can't have the
that's right.
Presidential. Boy, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I really like Rubio, although I don't know, I don't know how well Rubio and Trump would get along, but who knows? They may be just fine. But because Rubio, that's who Hillary was afraid in 2016. Hillary was afraid of Marco Rubio.
Yeah,
guy's bright.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I don't see anybody too exciting out there for vice president, but sometimes it's just that silent one that might be the prince or the princess. I don't know. Somebody really good.
Well, he may pick Tim Scott. That may be a candidate.
Not a fan. Like him. No, I haven't been for a long while.
Okay.
And
well, you know what that would do? That would solidify the black vote.
I don't care about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Aren't you sick of that by now? Isn't everybody sick of that by now?
Yeah, but it's
just put the best.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. But he may do that because of what it brings. That's all I'm thinking.
I mean, look at Kamala. Here you had Kamala who called Biden a racist.
Yeah, and then he picks her as vice president.
Where does that happen?
I don't. Only in politics.
Whose politics? Not our politics.
Not ours. No, of course not.
I mean, the Democrats and anything goes. It's amazing what laws they're able to maneuver and change. They can do whatever they want.
Right. That's right.
And they get away with it.
That's right.
So.
Linda, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Andy in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
So Linda is correct, and she's also incorrect. The electors can't vote for the both positions, president and vice president, if they're both from the same state. But there is a procedure to get it done. Bob alluded to it. So it is possible, Bob Progner. So it is an option for Trump to pick DeSantis, to pick Mark Rubio. It is an option. It can be done. It's a little bit of a protracted process, but it can be done. So just leave that out.
Okay.
Now, as I always come loaded for bear. So I always say about Joe Biden, and you really should say this about anybody, ignore what they say, watch what they do.
That's right.
Had an interesting, the other day was with a friend who is very conservative, but watching Joe Biden's speech on Holocaust Remembrance Day and talking about what a wonderful speech it was. And I said to her, but remember, it's a boilerplate speech. It's written by somebody else, and it would be the same speech that any president would pretty much be obligated to give on Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Yes.
Joe Biden just read the text, okay? I said, but watch what Joe Biden does. So the same Joe Biden who gave that beautiful speech about Holocaust on Holocaust Remembrance Day, about Israel, about supporting Israel, is this Joe Biden in 2019 said, quote, he told this to NPR. He said, quote, the idea that we would cut off military aid to our only true ally in that entire region is simply preposterous. Joe Biden said that to NPR in 2019. And what did he do the other day? He cut off aid to our only ally in that entire region.
That's
exactly
right.
What he did.
That's right.
Okay. A couple of days ago, Joe Biden said, quote, "We must protect women's sports." He said this in Wisconsin. This is the same Joe Biden who 2 weeks ago completely destroyed Title IX, which for 50 years has protected women's sports. And soon it will be law that anybody who says he is a woman and can participate in women's sports and walk around in the locker room and get his jollies looking at the naked girls, okay? So Title IX is gone, but Joe Biden just 2 days ago said we must protect women's sports. So Joe Biden, ignore what he says, watch what he does. Okay. Donald Trump, remember, he was impeached for, as they say, withholding aid to Ukraine. That was one of his impeachments, withholding aid to Ukraine. You know, that quid pro quo that they accused him of.
Yes.
Accused him of, which Trump said was a perfect phone call. Remember that?
Yes.
But yet, Joe Biden, we watched Joe Biden on video sitting at that panel bragging about how he threatened Ukraine if they didn't fire the prosecutor, they weren't going to get the aid money. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just the other day, Joe Biden withheld aid to Israel. Okay? This money, remember, Congress, the House has the power of the purse. They come up with the money. The money has to be used for the purpose that it was intended by Congress. Joe Biden is threatening and is withholding that money from Ukraine. So he is withholding aid to Ukraine, the very same thing that they impeached President Trump on vis-a-vis Ukraine, okay? Joe Biden's doing it to Israel, where Donald Trump didn't even do it, but Joe Biden did do it. And he threatened to do it on another occasion when he was sitting in that panel, you know, telling people, he was bragging about how he was going to withhold the. So he's what Biden actually did, Donald Trump was merely accused of and didn't do, but Trump was impeached, Biden was not.
Yes.
I got one more for you. So Donald Trump, hush money. You know that, and I think we talked about this last week, the check, the infamous check that was made out to Michael Cohen to pay him back for allegedly for paying off Stormy Daniels. The check was made out by Donald Trump on August 1st of 2017. But yet they claim Donald Trump did this to change the results of an election to make sure he won in 2016. Now explain to me how a check that was written on August 1st of 2017, 7 months after Donald Trump had taken the oath of office, how could that check have been written in order to make sure he won the election since he was already president for 7 months?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No. Okay. So there's that. Now, all the wind stuff and the electric. They try to get rid of your gas stoves. They want everything electric. We know that the power grid as it exists cannot generate enough electricity to power all of the things that currently run on electricity, but yet they want to add more stuff to the grid. You look at California, how many times are there blackouts and brownouts? You're not even allowed to charge your Tesla between the hours of 4 and 9 p.m., which is precisely when you would be charging it because you get home from work and you plug it in for the next day.
Right.
So you can't charge your Tesla, okay? John, they want to get us on electricity because they can control electricity.
That's right.
They can't control the gas. If you have a gas car, you go to a gas station, you fill it up, and you can drive anywhere you want to go any time of the day or night. You can drive as far as you want to go. You can stay as long as you want to stay, and then you come back when you want to come back. That represents freedom.
Yes.
Which is anathema to everything the Democrats stand for. If you are connected to the power grid, the electricity grid, which is controlled by the government, then they will decide how much electricity you get, when, and they will decide when you've used enough for the month, and then they cut you off or they power you back for the rest of the month. Okay? So they want to get you on as many things that run on electricity as possible.
That's right.
So
That's
that
right.
they can control your usage.
That's right. And once they control us, they control everything, really.
They're trying to control everything.
Yeah.
You know, you look at COVID, okay? What was COVID about? COVID was about controlling your freedom.
Yeah.
They locked you down in your house, and they told you couldn't go anywhere. Now what's happening with this election, they couldn't pull another COVID where they locked you down in your home and forced you to vote by mail because it was too dangerous to go to a voting booth. So they couldn't lock the voters down, John. So what they're doing this time is they're locking down Donald Trump. They're keeping him locked down.
That's right.
You see?
Yeah.
Keeping him locked up in this courtroom. And what a joke this is. You know, if anybody's interested, let's go in the Wayback Machine. Look at the interview that Stormy Daniels gave to Anderson Cooper, okay, in 2018, where she described the encounter with Donald Trump. And she talked about him being a nice guy, and she actually said that the sex wasn't bad. She said, quote, "I was not a victim. I was not a victim."
That's right.
In other words, he didn't rape me. I was not victimized, okay? She's also got that document that she signed, which said that she never had sex with Donald Trump. You've seen that document.
Yes.
We've all seen that.
Yeah, that's
okay?
right.
Well, now this same woman gets on the witness stand and claims that she did have sex with. So which is it? The woman's guilty of perjury.
Yeah.
And she's guilty of a felony, and she should be thrown in jail. She's also said that she will never pay the money that she was ordered by a judge to pay Donald Trump.
That's right.
So what's that all about? You think Donald Trump could say, "I'm never going to pay E. Jean Carroll this money"?
Yeah.
What do you think they would have done to him?
Yeah, that's right. Andy, thanks a lot for the call. We got to move on. We're coming up on a break. We have John, and then we have Bob, and maybe we'll have you at 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. It is Mother's Day weekend, and it's Donald Trump Day. It figures that Trump is trying to upstage Mother's Day. Come on. Yeah, if you're going to the rally, we'd like to hear from you. It would be certainly very interesting. 609-407-1450. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, we got to talk about the good stuff. Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. And I'll tell you, yeah, Stormy Daniels liked the ride in the Lexus, okay? we got to say that. It was 10 years ago. I mean, come on. It's amazing. You remember certain things, and I remember that. But in any case, it doesn't matter who is driving in your Lexus, because they all say, I mean, my grandson now falls asleep in the back of the car. And it's because the ride is so smooth, and it's nice, and it just glides along. And that's what you get when you get a Lexus. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. And I've always told you that with Lexus, there's very little that you have to do. I mean, you change the oil, you change the filter, you change the brakes. Once in a while, I mean, I've gone 50,000 miles with tires. So, that's pretty much it. There is really nothing much you have to do to it. When you get to like the 100,000 mile mark, or some things. But for the most part, there are Lexus on the road that have been on the road for 300,000 miles. It's not a stretch to say that. So if you're looking for a car that you're going to keep, or even if you're not going to keep, Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, and online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. Stop in, test drive the car today. It's a good day to test drive. Ask for Helen. She'll be happy to take care of you. Lexus of Atlantic City, again online, aclexus.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for LibertyAndProsperity.com. Last month, American Thinker published an article I wrote about the war in the Middle East. I call it 13 key facts about Israel that are known by very few Americans. I invite you to Google it or look it up at LibertyAndProsperity.com. One is that Palestine was never an Arab nation. It was the name that a Roman emperor gave to Israel after he crushed a Jewish rebellion there. Another is that most of Israel or Palestine was mostly empty malaria swamp and desert until about 100 years ago. Most Arabs did not move there until after Jews drained the swamps, watered the deserts, and planted trees and crops. Learn more about these and other important facts about Jews, Christians, and Arabs in and around Israel. Visit LibertyAndProsperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. LibertyAndProsperity.com.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadia should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadia thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadia even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadia has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadia's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia, 22153.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Let's talk to John. John in Ocean City. John's back. Welcome back, John.
Yes, thanks. There's 4 electric charging booths on the Transportation Center parking lot here in Ocean City. Meanwhile, directly offshore, they blow up the BL England electric generating plant. That's really super genius. And also, when I first moved here down to the Cape May County area in Ocean City on the causeway all the way up to the bridge that leads into town, there were 9 or 10 gas stations on either side of the road. Now there's friggin' banks, and one of them just became insolvent, the Republic Bank. Right? We have a $35 trillion national debt, right? But see, I'm a Sully Savage MAGA supporter. I can't think substantively. I can't think outside the box. I know this too. I'm not brainwashed either, right? We're not brainwashed. We're preaching to the choir, but at least we're not drinking the Kool-Aid, you know. But if there's loopholes in the Bible, I'm not with it today. There's loopholes in the Constitution that would allow President Trump to pick Ron DeSantis as his running mate. We have Byron Donalds, we have Tim Scott, we have Ted Cruz, we have Marco Rubio, even Vivek Ramaswamy. I like him, and we have many people that could fit the bill for being president of the United States, and they're all Republicans, take note. But I'm not worried about a vice president being co-opted necessarily. I'm worried about a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I think Mike Pence didn't become a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think he always was. And I'm worried about that because I don't believe it's just unelected officials like George Soros or Klaus Schwab. I believe there's elected officials that are part of the shadow government. I really do. Try to dissuade me. Go ahead, knock yourself out. But there's puppet masters in our government, not just puppets. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about President Trump, that he's not showing his hand. That's Trumpian. That's pure President Trump. I'm glad he's not. But as far as who he picks, that's real important who he picks. Because God forbid something happens to the man, that person will take charge. Well, who do the Democrats have? They have Newsom, Chairman Newsom, and he's the governor of California. Sacramento has 10 cities on it. So do the Stunads or the Potsods really want that guy for president? They do, unfortunately. Thanks.
Thanks, John. I love when John uses those Italian words. Stunad is stupid and Potsad is crazy. Just in case you want to know. We translate here on the show. 609-407-1450. That's our number here. Bob is in Cape May. Bob, welcome back.
Hey, John. Just calling about the VP pick, but just want to have a little aside here about electric cars, electric charging. Okay, so went to Cape May City Hall to see the building inspector yesterday, and of course, but got there before 2:00, and nobody's there. They all don't work after 2:00 on Friday, so nice schedule. But the point I want to make here: parking lot Cape May City Hall was filled. Okay, completely filled, except there were 4 empty spaces. How great. But guess what? You aren't allowed to park there unless you had an electric vehicle.
Oh.
Okay? And they're completely empty. So, we've got these we have a woke mayor in Cape May. Again, a nice guy, nice family, okay? But really a woke mayor. Great idea, I guess. We all should have our electric cars. We should all be limited to a 75 or 80 mile range, and all so wonderful. The problem is people don't want that. But look, I want to talk about, and Linda is correct about Tim Scott. It seems on the surface, yes, we'll get some black votes, maybe. But Tim Scott, again, nice guy, compelling life story. But the problem with Tim Scott is that he will easily be co-opted by the Uniparty, by the Republican establishment, and that's a real danger. Because let's face it here, okay, we have a successful Trump presidency, then, the VP is most likely, Trump's VP is most likely going to be the nominee in 28.
That's right.
So this is very important, this choice. So are we going to put somebody, again, is Trump going to be thinking ahead enough, going to put somebody in that position that continues his policies, continues the America First MAGA movement? Or are we going to have somebody that is going to be controlled by the Jeb Bush faction, the Bush family faction of the Republican Party? And I will tell you, Tim Scott, I do not trust Tim Scott. I just don't.
Why?
Why don't I trust him? Because his positions until the last few months, now he's very much into running the BVP. His positions, his policy positions, were more in line with the Republican establishment. Endless foreign wars, not really great on the trade issues, not really great on the borders. Those are my big problems with Tim Scott. And again, I think we've got other candidates that will help Trump win the election, but more so we can trust to keep the Trump agenda going. And these are, number one is J.D. Vance from Ohio, a brilliant, young, sincere senator who went to East Palestine, Ohio, when they had that oil spill, not 9-10 months later or a year later like Biden did, or like that idiot Buttigieg did. He went to the airport and made a quick stop and then flew away. J.D. Vance went to East Palestine to help those working class people who were forgotten by the liberal elites. He went there and he was standing right next to a polluted, toxic chemical-filled creek. So again, it just shows the sincerity of this guy, number one, and number two, he's right on the issues. He's right there with Trump on the issues. Another person we have in a real possibility would be Tulsi Gabbard. Now, she's not with us 100% on every conservative issue, but boy, she is sincere about not letting the uniparty, the warmongers, control this country. And she's right on a lot of issues. She's with us on immigration. She's with us on fighting crime the way it should be fought. And she's absolutely with us on foreign policy. And, she's a brilliant intellectual.
Yeah.
And, she could absolutely, be a great fit. We'd get over the gender gap problem. And Trump has a gender gap, no doubt about it. We have to be realistic about that. And the only other one I would mention would be Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who I'm just not sure, though, on where she is in terms of her policy agenda. I do think she's a very likable, very capable person that would be great, again, for the gender gap problem that Trump does have. He has that.
How about Nikki Haley?
No, big problem.
Why?
Big problem.
Why?
Same problem that I see with Tim Scott. She's an establishment Republican.
Yeah. Okay.
She can't trust her. I mean, she said she would not run against Trump if Trump ran, and then the money interest got to her and her ambition got to her, and she decided to run. Can't trust her. Number one. Number two, she's much more in line with the Jeb Bush wing of the party, who again is working more against the American interest of the American people.
Yeah, but
I don't trust her at all.
Of all the ones you mentioned, Nikki Haley has the most clout as far as getting votes, because I think she got 21% in that in the latest poll. So she's polled higher than anybody else. So maybe that's
John. She's well known, and she lasted longer than anyone in a Republican primary because the anti-Trump faction of the party, and along with Democrats who wanted this primary fight to continue, supported her. I mean, she had saboteurs basically financing her.
Yeah.
So, Nikki Haley, very dangerous. I think she would be an absolute disaster. I mean, I love Tucker Carlson, great patriot, and Tucker said that if Trump picks Nikki Haley, he will actively campaign against that ticket. So,
wow,
Tucker's not a saboteur. Okay, he is not. I trust him on the issues. I trust him to see through people who's sincere, who isn't.
Well, that's an interesting point,
why,
Bob.
Tucker came on really quick, really early to support J.D. Vance out of Ohio, when J.D. Vance didn't really have much of a chance to even win a Republican primary. J.D. Vance has been in terms of the MAGA policy agenda, he's been like number one. He's been the number one senator out there. That's why he's in the mix.
Well, we'll see. We'll keep that name in mind. Bob, thanks a lot for the call. Dan in Linwood. Dan, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Nikki Haley. Dick Cheney in high heels.
That's a good one.
She's a hawk, and talk about Tulsi Gabbard. You have to address her as Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard, 22 years, and still in the Army. She would be great. She would be a great FBI director. Now, John, I'm going to muddle up the mix here with the vice presidents. First, the of Virginia and North Dakota. They're both, heading towards being billionaires. They know what they're doing. You got Youngkin, and then you got Burgum, and they're both, they know their way around business. They know their way around politics, and they would be solid. And in basically 2028. So I'm gonna muddle everything up with your other callers, Linda, and I think it was Andy. But
yeah, okay.
This thing about the vice president, the 22nd Amendment wasn't careful. They said, and this creates the scenario, you can't run or be elected to a third term.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't run for vice president. And let's just say Obama ran for vice president. They edged out Kamala, and the ticket would win because he was the vice president. 2 months into the affair, after January, Biden gets sworn in for a second term, and he gets sick. Guess who's the president?
Obama.
Yeah, and that's the rule, because he didn't break the rule, because he didn't run. If it's succession or appointment, he could be the president under the 22nd Amendment. They weren't careful when they wrote it.
Oh boy, that's a loophole. That is a loophole. Yeah.
Elect it, or he can't run as for the president. He can't be elected. He can't serve their term. But in those other cases, yeah, he can do it.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is, and it's a terrible thing. And if, let's say you, in that other scenario, if you said, "Oh, okay, Ron DeSantis, come along with me," the electoral votes are separate, and of course, Florida's electoral votes would be disallowed. So the vice president, Kamala Harris, would have the majority, not the majority of 271, but let's say Trump had 271. 30 of those votes would be taken away from Ron DeSantis. He would have 241. Kamala would have more, and in that scenario, whoever has the most at that point will be the vice president, and that'll be Kamala Harris will be the vice president under the newly elected Republican.
Oh, jeez. Well, boy, there's a scenario.
It's all messy, because way back when the runner-up actually was the vice president, and that didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
So it's who's ever writing these laws these amendments are not very careful.
Yeah,
because they had address at the 12th Amendment and the 22nd Amendment. And if you read it, it's frightening, because every lawyer in the world could do something with it.
Wow.
But the idea is for Trump to get a rock-solid conservative like Bergman or Youngkin, go with it, beat Biden, use the economy, use the border, use all the bad stuff in the funding, basically funding the war, giving Iran the money. That's $6 billion we paid for the hostages.
Yeah.
Where do you think that $6 billion is being used?
Do you tell me?
For arms, for terrorism, everything else. Or Iran uses their budget. That's why their population hates them. They use their budget to support all the Hamas, the Houthis, and every other group out there. And if we give them $100 billion in oil forgiveness and everything else, we're basically funding both sides.
Yeah.
And you can't win when you vote. And it's just an agenda that we have to stop doing. You got to pick a side and stick with it. If Israel is your ally, you got to stay by them, because they'll be by you.
That's right. Dan, thank you. Thank you for the call. Thank you. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450 coming up on a break. We'll talk to Greg and Absecon after the break, and we got some open lines, so maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. A lot more to talk about here with the Trump rally in Wildwood and who will be his vice president. We got on that subject a little bit. And other things, the Stormy Daniels controversy, we're talking about that. And a couple other things on the table. We'll bring that up in just a moment. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at B.F. Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. B.F. Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, B.F. Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. B.F. Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadia should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadia thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadia even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadia has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadia's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia 22153.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Mostly cloudy this afternoon, warmer with a high 64. Cloudy tonight with a couple of showers late, low 46. Mother's Day tomorrow, mostly cloudy, cooler with a thunder shower, high 56 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, sunny, pleasant, and warmer with a high up to 70. Tuesday, cloudy with a couple of showers on the way, high 73. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, we have this wonderful invention called the podcast. Yes, we do. And what you do is you Google John DeMasi podcasts, and all the shows come up. There are over 200 shows. So you can listen to any of the shows at any time, anywhere. As long as you have a device, of course. John DeMasi podcast. That's what you Google. And all the shows come up, and you can listen at any time. A marvelous, marvelous invention. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll get to Greg in just a moment. But I wanted to mention that a few of our callers have mentioned RFK Jr. as a vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump, which will never happen, I don't think. But RFK Jr. is in the news because he says he had a parasitic worm in his brain. It affected his memory. I'm not making this up. This was a headline this week. RFK Jr., he's now 70, believe it or not. He revealed in a 2012 deposition during divorce proceedings that he had short and long-term memory loss and described himself as having cognitive problems, clearly. Okay, at that time, Kennedy was also diagnosed with mercury poisoning. According to his spokesperson, the issue is now resolved and Kennedy is thinking clearly. That's nice to know. He's thinking clearly. He supposedly got the parasite from extensive travel in Africa, South America, and Asia in his work as an environmental advocate. Okay. No, RFK Jr. is not. He's running as an independent, and he's not going to be Trump's vice presidential nominee. So we can forget that. Greg and Absecon. Greg, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. DeMasi, good morning.
Morning.
We should mention to President Trump to keep an eye out when he's down in Wildwood on the horizon. The next time he visits, it may not be there. It'll be all towers.
The horizon?
Yes. As the sun comes up or goes down, whatever direction you take, it's going to be towers.
I still windmills. Oh, okay.
Windmills.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, my selection for vice president, Ted Cruz is currently running for senator in Texas. Sarkos and his son are throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at him to defeat him into Texas.
Wow.
The best scenario, he wins. If he does, it's a punch in the gut to Sarkos and his son that someone with an impeccable record is not defeatable. That just reinforces the decision that Texas made. As far as his availability for vice president, I'm hoping he's not available, that he does win in Texas, because that's what the Sarkoses are after.
Yeah.
Texas. The other thing. A1 artificial intelligence. They take 5 decades and they recreate every one of the comedians that died short term. They never finished their possibilities. And they start making movies with maybe 2 or 3 of them at a time. They would be classical movies that would never be forgotten.
True.
Because the number of comedians available is outrageously talented. And we lost them.
Yeah.
But
George Carlin is one.
It gets a bad word. You know, every time you hear it, it's negative. There's something positive that could be created that would be international.
Yeah, that's a thought. That's definitely a thought.
Do away with war.
Yeah.
Rather have them laughing and throwing bombs at us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Greg, thanks a lot for the call. 609-407-1450. Wide open lines here. So you want to jump in? Good time to do that. 609-407-1450. U.S. Senator John Fetterman is slamming President Biden, a member of his own party. Believe it or not, he is calling out Sleepy Joe. Fetterman said President Biden's threat to withhold military aid to Israel is deeply disappointing. That is the latest criticism he has levied against the president over his handling of the war in Gaza. And we talked about this before. On Wednesday, Biden announced that he would halt some shipments of bombs and artillery into Israel if the country invaded the Palestinian city of Rafah. This criticism by a member of his own party is extremely rare. Is it another knock against Biden? We'll see. But, you know, a member of your own party and, you know, criticizing Biden, well, I mean, how can he withhold to Israel? Because they're our biggest ally, especially in the Middle East. And that's ridiculous. But, you know, Fetterman, I guess he's not a politician in the true sense of the word. Jerry in EHT. Jerry, good morning. You're on Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. Good to speak to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
John, I've been listening for months now, and I've been hearing that Donald Trump can pick somebody from Florida or Donald Trump can't pick somebody from Florida. Could we please get somebody on the radio who knows definitively which way it will happen? Can he or can't he? There must be an answer to this question.
Yeah, there must.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, we seem to be getting conflicting things, so we'll have to.
Yeah, but there has to be an answer. I can't keep on listening to people say you can and people say you can't. Which one is it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Give me a break. Thank you, John. I hope somebody who's out there knows the correct answer. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for the call. Well, we heard one that they can't run, but then he can run. Whatever. He can't. Yeah, well, sometimes it gets frustrating, But another thing here. Hunter Biden looks like he is going to trial. Yes, but you know what? It's not, I don't care what you say, it's not going to get the same coverage as Trump. The appeals were exhausted, and Hunter Biden is scheduled to go on trial next month in Delaware. He is standing trial on criminal charges. Hunter Biden is accused of lying about his drug use in purchasing a firearm. Meantime, he faces separate tax counts in Los Angeles, alleging that he failed to pay at least $1.4 million in taxes over 3 years while living an extravagant lifestyle during his days of using drugs. He is separately challenging rulings rejecting his motions to dismiss those charges. So, you want to bet that it doesn't get the same coverage? You want to bet that? Of course not. It's Hunter Biden is on page 3. Trump is on page 1. Hunter Biden's on page 6. Trump is on page 1. Par for the course. But he's going to trial. And this separate charge, he's challenging that. He owes $1.4 million in taxes. Oh, Hunter Biden, who loves hookers and strippers and hey, they don't really bring this up. They don't really bring this up when it comes to Biden. I mean, if it was Trump's kids, it'd be all over the news. It would be. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. And also, you can hear us on 1450 AM and also online at WPGTalkRadio.com. That's WPGTalkRadio.com. I'm wondering, and this is just me, wondering that really people have never called out Joe Biden on the fact that he is a Catholic, but yet he defies his faith by pushing for abortion. Don't you find that strange? I mean, years ago they made a big to-do when Kennedy ran. Oh, he was a Catholic. The first Catholic president in the White House. Biden goes to church every week. Don't you find that contradictory? That he goes to, that he was a pro-life Democrat, and now he becomes what we call a modern-day gladiator for abortion? And he's fighting the demon known as Donald Trump. By the way, Biden keeps a rosary in his pocket. I'll tell you, can't make this stuff up. Bob in Cape May. Bob, good morning. Welcome back.
Yeah, you're right, John. Biden goes to, when he's in Rehoboth Beach, to St. Edmund's Church, and for some reason, the pastor there, Father Coco, allows him to have Holy Communion. And, pretty terrible thing, really. I mean, Biden, horrible person. We know that. But anyway, yeah, so good point there. I just want to answer the question. Look, the caller previously said there was confusion about the electoral process for the vice presidency. There really isn't confusion. If you do not reach the 270 threshold, okay, then the Senate, for the vice presidency, the Senate decides who the vice president becomes. If a president doesn't reach, like if there are three candidates, you don't reach the 270 threshold. I believe it's the House of Representatives. They decide who becomes president. So that's your formula. Now, with regards to a vice president candidate from Florida, okay, the Constitution says that the electors from Florida cannot vote for a president and a vice president. So if it's Trump and Rubio, or Trump and DeSantis, or Trump and Byron Donalds, okay, Trump gets over 270, but the Florida electors cannot cast their votes for the vice presidential candidate. So what happens? The Senate decides who the VP is. So we have to have a Republican Senate.
Yes.
That's again when the election in 2000 in November, if the Republicans gain control of the Senate, which is very likely, and especially in the event of a Donald Trump victory, the Democrats have seats that are going to flip. Ohio is probably going to flip. Montana probably will flip. West Virginia for sure will flip because Joe Manchin is retiring. So it's all very likely there will be a Republican majority in the Senate. That is very likely. Not guaranteed, but very, very likely. So that's the answer.
Therefore, if it was DeSantis, then he would win.
He would be vice president.
Yes.
Either he would get over 270 without the Florida electors, if it's a real big victory, or the Senate would pick DeSantis as the VP, and it wouldn't be. Let's face it. I mean, it wouldn't be that controversial, right? I mean, if the Trump DeSantis ticket wins, right? But on a technicality that the Florida electors can't cast their ballots, the Senate isn't going to do anything.
All right, Bob, we're up against it. Thanks a lot for the call. Talk with the Purpose is the show. Hour number 2 is in the books. Hour number 3 is on the way. Lots to talk about. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
5.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. We got another hour of fun here. The pre-Mother's Day show. And by the way, we want to wish all the moms a happy Mother's Day. And to the moms that are no longer with us, including my mother, the memory is always there. It never leaves you. So we salute those as well. We'll get to the calls. We got Frank and then we got John. We'll get to those in just a minute. But I want to share this with you. A friend of mine just texted me this. This is regarding who the vice president is. He isn't. The 12th Amendment to the Constitution, which created the modern process by which the Electoral College picks the president, reads, "The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom, at least, shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves." So, using an example, of Trump DeSantis, this would be DeSantis. However, this doesn't mean Trump is precluded from picking a Florida running mate. But in the event of a close Trump victory, it would make things uncomfortable for the American political system. If Trump were to win the 270 electoral votes to claim the presidency, but his running mate could not claim enough such votes, the U.S. Senate would be forced to decide the next vice president. So if Trump gets 270 and DeSantis is his running mate, I guess they would subtract that Florida Electoral College, and then the Senate would pick the next vice president, and hopefully it would be DeSantis if that was the one. Okay? So I hope that clears it up. Does it clear it up? No. Okay. Look, I tried, and my friend tried. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. Frank is in Ventnor. Frank, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, John. It's clear to me, so I'll go to another topic.
Okay.
But another controversial topic, John, something you brought up last week. You know, politics is controversial, and of course, so is religion. Now, you mentioned briefly about should we bring religion back into the schools? And
yes.
What I'd like to just mention, John, what rights do you have right now? You know, what rights did the Supreme Court rule against 1963 take away from the schools as far as religion?
And the right to prayer, right? The right to prayer?
Well, not exactly. What it did, it took away the right for school to sponsor prayer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It did not take individual rights away from students. So a student right now, the Supreme Court has not ruled against any students. For instance, a student now, if there's a quiet period during time in school, a student can pray. A student goes in the lunchroom, wants to pray before they eat lunch. That's allowed. In fact, what you can, if a teacher hands out a test, John, you can do a little prayer before you start the test.
Yes. Okay.
As long as the school doesn't sponsor it. Now, in fact, what you can also do, I mean, if a school allows student groups, you know, a group that's not sponsored by the school, a school can have a Bible club if they want, and they can meet on school grounds and they can pray and they can read the Bible. That would not be against what the Supreme Court ruled. It's just that it can't be sponsored by the school. You can't have teachers reading a prayer. You can't have anything where the school favors a religion. But other than that, you know, students can still pray whenever there's non-instructional time, they can pray.
But can the school say we're now going to have a moment of prayer? They can't say that.
No, they can't say that, but some schools in some states can. New Jersey says that you can't require a school to have a moment of silence. I mean, no school can say we're going to have a moment of prayer. That's not allowed. But in many states, you can have a moment of silence. And in New Jersey, I'm not exactly sure. I know New Jersey was not allowed to mandate that schools must have a moment of silence. I don't know if that's changed recently, but I think there's 34 states right now that have a moment of silence, or a minute of silence. And, of course, during that time, you can't tell people what they have to do. They can recite poetry. They can say a prayer. They can just think whatever thoughts they want.
Yes.
It's just that you can't dictate what they have to do as far as religion.
Okay. So that clears it up. Yeah. Well, but the thing is, do schools, especially around here, do they have that? Do they have a moment of silence? That's the question.
Well, that's what I don't know, John. I'm not exactly sure in New Jersey. I think it's not allowed for the state to mandate that a district has a moment of silence.
Yes.
What I'm not sure is if the school board wants to say, you know, or schools are going to do it. I believe that may be allowed, although I'm not 100% certain.
Oh, okay. So, well, we're almost there, maybe.
Yeah. And also, John, the school can teach about religion, but they would have to do it, like in a historical way or a fact way. They can't teach about a religion that promotes one religion over another.
Yes. So they could say that this religion started in the 1400s, and but it's
they could even describe what the different religions believe. But it has to be done, kind of in a secular way.
Yes, in an educational way. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So,
Frank, as always, you inform us. Thanks for the call. John in Ocean City. John, welcome back.
Yes. Now they're going to take the saying "One Nation Under God" out of the Pledge of Allegiance next. I can just see it. Anyway, It's a shame that we're going in the wrong direction. I'm sorry, but we are.
Yeah.
Not prohibiting the free exercise thereof. It's in our First Amendment. So that's a fine line there, I guess. But anyway, as far as it's a kind of a touchy subject, but this idea that the Ashkenazi Jews are not real Jews, but they're Khazars, and Khazaria was at the far eastern part of Europe, and it extended into Central Europe. However, Ashkenazi Jews during the Roman Republic days came up from when the power was switched from Greece to Rome, they came up from Alexandria, Egypt, into Central Europe. So they're not the same people. And even the Nazis said that the Jews that were Ashkenazi Jews that were being persecuted by them were descendants of Abraham, and Abraham is the father of Jewish people. So it's a big fat lie there. A lot of it's misinformation. But there's a special pleader for the Nazis who's saying that actually Hitler was just trying to rid the continent of Europe of Khazars, and also to save Christian Europe. Well, there was an active movement to get rid of Christianity, and they wanted to go back to the pagan roots of Europe, the old religion. They did. They actually wanted to get rid of Christianity altogether. They came up with positive Christianity, where Jesus Christ becomes an Aryan figure. He's no longer Jewish, which is ridiculous anyway, because the book of Matthew starts out with the Jewish lineage of Jesus. But all that being said, the National Socialists, they say that Nazi does not mean National Socialist, it means nationalist, but actually the first two letters of national is N-A, and the middle of you spell socialist from a German language, it's the third and fourth letter are Z-I. That's Nazi. So actually, these people that are giving out disinformation, as far as there are Panzer divisions line up along the borders, the German-Polish border, and they overran Poland, a European country. So how are they trying to save Europe again? And a person that murders, and not a person that defends their country, but a person that lies and takes lives, that's a murderer. So the Nazis were a bunch of murderers, is what they were. Men, women, and children were destroyed under those tank tracks, man. And also, how do you support? Again, how do you support murdering men, women, and children because they're Jewish, because they were born Jewish, because you hate Jewish people? That's why. That's the only reason why you do it. Now, here's the thing. I mean, the Rothschilds are no good. I agree. They're no good. But there were two Rothschilds sitting it out in Switzerland. You mean Hitler couldn't have taken a couple of Germans that spoke fluent Swiss and taken those guys out? Of course they could have. So yeah, we're given disinformation. And our allies, Israel and Britain, and now they're not 100% good, and we're not 100% good either. We have an alliance between those two nations because out of need. Another two countries that have an alliance out of need is Australia and Japan. And with Shinzo Abe that was urging America to join that alliance, he was trying to urge it when President Trump was in office. So we have alliances that are based on need, not necessarily love necessarily. It's based on need. We need each other. But as far as playing hardball with our allies, that doesn't mean backstabbing our allies. Thanks for letting me call in.
Thanks, John. Thanks for you're right. I mean, that's backstabbing is how I can see it. You know, refusing to send arms. Please, John Fetterman was right, and I don't normally agree with Democrats, but he was right. Jenny is in Florida. Jenny, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, thank you. Yes, I would never normally agree with John Fetterman, but I had to turn up my radio when I heard that.
Yeah, I know.
Shocking. Well, I wonder if his family isn't Jewish. Fetterman? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so, but that's beside the point. But yeah, you're right. that's unusual. And it goes to show that Fetterman really isn't, he's really not a hardcore politician. I mean, he got elected.
Well, he's not in lockstep with Biden.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And, Biden's more worried about Michigan than he is our country, let's face it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's true. Yeah. Well,
I heard some...
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Ginny.
I heard something yesterday. I almost fell off my chair. I was listening to RFK Jr. say he believes in abortion to the time of birth. I almost fell over. Now, here's a devout, staunch Catholic family, as Catholic as you can get.
Yes.
I'm sure he was bludgeoned with Catholicism as a child, as was I. And Joe Biden, here are these two Irish Catholic families, as Irish as Paddy's Peg, and they're both for abortion.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, huh? It makes you wonder.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So I think now, although I'm not an abortion, I wouldn't vote for anybody or not vote for anybody predicated on whether or not they're pro-life or not. But anyway, what I'm saying is it's amazing to me. I really think RFK Jr. is going to siphon votes from Biden.
I do, too.
As far as I'm concerned,
I do too, yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. By the way, did you hear RFK Jr. At one time, he had worms in his brain?
Yeah, I don't know how they diagnosed that. And I've worked in nursing for 42 years. I don't know how you would diagnose that, if it would even come up on an MRI with the soft tissue. So he said worms. A worm got to his brain and ate part of it. Well, what do you do about it? How do you? I don't know how that's. I'm not being funny.
I'm just thinking, how can you eat part of his brain? I just don't think wouldn't he be affected long term with that? I mean, I don't understand.
You would think, and then how would they get rid of it? If you have worms in your GI tract, you're given a drug called an enthelmintic, and I don't know what they would do with your brain, and how did it get in there?
Yeah, that's right. Well, supposedly he got it in Africa and Asia when he was working over there. So who knows?
Oh my! But anyway, he's going to, in my opinion, he's going to siphon votes from Biden.
I think so
which
too.
Is a good thing.
I think so too.
Are you going to the rally tonight?
Listen, I was telling Chris before, I'm long past standing on the beach for 5 hours, so I can't do it. So I'll watch it on TV. That's all.
Yeah, I will as well. And you're not allowed to bring a beach chair, and there's too many rules.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And North Wildwood bans cabanas from their beach too as well. So, you can't do too much there. Jenny, thanks a lot for the call. Thanks for calling from Florida. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have some time left on the show, and we got time to take plenty of your calls at 609-407-1450. After the break, I'm going to tell you another article that says Trump will become a dictator if elected. Can you imagine? Trump a dictator? Okay, we're coming back. More Talk with a Purpose after these words.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadia should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadia thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadia even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadia has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadia's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia 22153.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. 609-407-1450 is our number here in the studio. And if you'd like to email me during the week, JDAD, V as in Victor 1 at Comcast.net. JDADV1 at Comcast.net. And you can always like us on Facebook at Talk with a Purpose. At Talk with a Purpose is our Facebook address. And it is the show, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. If elected, we'll get to the call in just a moment. If elected, will another Trump presidency become a dictatorship? Yet another article in a major newspaper, another article, and I must say, disturbing, portraying Donald Trump as a would-be dictator. Here is some of the article. According to this, this is in Time Magazine. Trump would start to round up as many as 12 million undocumented immigrants currently scattered across the U.S. He would do this in the dead of night, in raids in the dead of night, and then place the immigrants in mass detention camps. Justice for his political enemies would include pardoning those who participated in the January 6, 2021 riots. According to this article, a second Trump term would be much, much worse than the first. I didn't think the first was bad. So how are they saying it's worse than the first? I mean, I have probably, and I've mentioned this on the show, there have probably been at least, and I have mentioned this before, I've read a couple of them, and I mentioned it on the air, but I've read probably 15 or 20 articles that say pretty much the same thing. He's a dictator. He loves Kim Jong-un. Okay. We'll see. Greg and Absecon. Greg, welcome back.
Mr. Massey, good morning. Sorry to bother you again.
No, you're not bothering me.
The immigrants coming in, let in into the country, we should be asking all the politicians to start packing and get out. They're going to replace you.
Yeah.
The politicians, that is.
Yeah.
That would be a good move. RFK, the worm in his brain,
yeah,
is screaming for help in Chinese. Why they knew it was a worm. It had to be a worm. The government, and this is a good one. The government, why was it created? To protect for the citizens the privileges and promises made in the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, yes.
After that, everything was a grab.
Yes.
So they've reached the point where the next thing they should be looking for is the light switch to turn it off before we turn it off in Washington. and just tell them that your services are no longer required. You guys have exceeded your stay.
Yes.
Have a good night. Just turn it off and say goodbye.
Yeah.
Have a good day. It'll get better.
Yeah. It sure will. Craig, thanks for the call. By the way, none of the calls, you never bother me with calls. You know, you can call as many times as you like because we're only here 3 hours on Saturday, and so that's our time. 609-407-1450. Again, some open lines if you want to jump in here with anything we're talking about here on the show. We have kind of talked about this. Who would Trump pick as his vice president? And we've had some names, and all good names. Some of them not so good, but nevertheless, there's some good names. So we'll see. It should become clearer as time goes on, and we'll get more information as we do. I wanted to talk about these wind farms because Seth mentioned it earlier, and I haven't talked about it. Opponents of the wind farms came to another county commissioner meeting Tuesday, and they demanded action from county officials. Brigantine Mayor Vince Serra said offshore wind farms will devalue property, and I agree with that because I believe I told you way back when I'm in my doctor's office in Marlton, and a woman who's from Philadelphia says, I was thinking of coming down the shore. They put up those wind farms yet? Now, of course, they haven't put them up, but she said that they're putting them up. So you see how that affects. I'm not coming down there to look at wind farms. And you know, this thing is a couple of years away, if at all, if it happens. So the perception is, for some, and for those who are marginally interested, they look at it like, oh, well, it's there. But it's not there. And I said to her, no, that's just a proposal, and it may happen, it may not happen, but it's a couple of years away at least. Oh, she said, thanks for telling me that. But if she didn't ask me that, we would have lost somebody here at the shore who comes every year. So anyway, Vince Serra, Brigantine Mayor, he said offshore wind farms will devalue property. I agree with that. And also greatly increase electric bills and harm the entire county economy. Also, several members of Defend Brigantine Beach said the ocean wind farms would harm the fishing industry. And I don't think too many people are talking about that. That is a big industry. I mean, my former neighbor, he was he used to clam behind my house there, and I remember seeing him and the traps and all that. That's one industry, and there's many others. By the way, Atlantic Shores is moving forward with a 1,510 megawatt facility 10 to 20 miles off the coast between Atlantic City and Barnegat Light. A reminder that Governor Murphy, ultimately, and President Biden are pushing for these offshore wind farms and who have oversight on the issue. Look, we have got to keep up the fight. We have got to keep up the fight. That's all there is to it. If these things come aboard, and look, Murphy doesn't care. Besides, how many years does he have left? What does he have, a year and a half left? What does he care? Say, look what I did for New Jersey. I put up these wind farms. And he will go off to Italy with his millions, and we're going to be stuck here with these things off the shore. I really don't know what to say other than We got to stop this from happening. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. Here's another thing, and I wanted to bring this up because it looks like we have attempted to get the new CRDA president on, Eric Scheffler, and of course he is the former sheriff of Atlantic County, and he has been appointed the new director of the CRDA, and we've put in several calls to him and have not been returned. The Casino Reinvestment Development Authority seems to be finally coming to its senses. Now, I have criticized them here on the show for spending money like candy. The CRDA is considering tightening its purse strings. They have approved more than $500,000 for 3 separate summer concerts, and one of which is our good friend Carmen Marotta, who has the Tony Mart Presents show right after us from 12 noon to 1, right here on WPG. And I like Carmen, and I'm glad he's getting some of the money. But in doing so, the CRDA says that the organizations putting on these events shouldn't expect the money to roll in forever. And I agree. Let me tell you how a radio station runs things and how I've run things. If you are an organization and you are a concert promoter, let's say, you are supposedly making money off of the event, which is being held in our locale. Right? Follow me? So it is logical that you should bear the brunt of the expense, you, the promoter. And if you can't afford it, or if you don't want to afford it, or whatever the case, you get sponsors. Plain and simple. But I will tell you this, getting sponsors is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And you just don't go find sponsors anywhere. You got to dig for them. And our sales staff can tell you that. But that's what the CRDA should do. On occasion, yeah, they can spend some money. I'm not saying they can't. But to give out money like candy, and that thing with the supermarket way back when, $18 million to build the building, and then $1 a year for a lease, that's made in heaven. So that's what my message is to the CRDA. Get sponsors and stop spending money like it's going out of style. Matt in OC. Matt, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, first of all, let me tell you, you have a great show. I've been listening to you for years.
Thank you.
The one issue I want to point out that a lot of folks have not brought to your attention is that this trial that's going on right now with our previous president basically boils down to him hiding information that could affect the election. What people have forgotten, 2 years ago, the New York Times finally caved in and said that they knew about the laptop in the very beginning, but they did not want to illustrate it because they were afraid it was going to affect the election, which a poll was taken and found out that 7% of the Americans that voted would have not voted for Biden if they knew about the laptop.
Right.
So talk about a controversial not being treated fairly, where the New York Times can hold information back and say it's okay to affect an election. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They didn't want to affect the election. What are they doing now?
You're so true, my friend.
What are they doing? I mean, it's, a trial. Wait a minute, not one, but 4. I mean,
4 trials. Right.
4 trials.
And the end result's going to be they're all going to end up being nothing, especially after when all the witnesses get done and everybody says what they got to say, and even if he loses this race in Manhattan, it's going to be overturned for so many issues that he was treated unfairly. It's a waste of time and money.
Right.
People just don't care.
That's right. Let's talk about a waste of money. How about when he was president? He was always investigated for something.
Because they wanted him investigated. They did not want him to do good as our president, and they wanted to slap as much mud around him as possible.
That's right.
And wait till someone investigates and finds out. You know, when the speaker for the president was on recently, about a month ago, she said the president had nothing to do with these investigations. But yet that lady in Georgia and her boyfriend was noted going to the White House and documented.
Yes.
How can people forget that? Oh, American dummies, they got to realize this.
Yeah. And you know, she was paid, by the way, $640,000.
Wow, unbelievable. Well, anyway, thank you for taking my
Matt,
call.
thanks for the call. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Matt brought up a good point. And it's been constant. And, you know, sometimes here on the show, I say, we're talking about Trump all the time, but yet the media brings these things to the table, and we have to talk about them because they're always bringing up something about Trump. They're always bringing up something that he's on trial for or that he's sued for. I mean, did you ever see? I mean, there's 4 criminal trials he could potentially face. He's in one now. And this is the most frivolous of all. Oh, boy. It's just too much. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We're also heard on 1450 AM and also on online, WPGTalkRadio.com. Many ways to listen to us, and you always can, whether you're in the area or not, you can always listen. 609-407-1450, our final 20 minutes of the show coming up. We will have more Talk with a Purpose after these words.
Republicans across the state will soon welcome President Trump to New Jersey. Radio host Bill Spadia should use this moment to apologize for his vicious attacks on Trump.
Forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
That's right. Spadia thinks Trump was a failure.
I wrote an article on the 3 reasons why I think President Trump failed.
Spadia even thinks Trump's time has passed.
President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again, and I think it's time for new blood.
Spadia has attacked Trump repeatedly on the radio, comparing him to liberal Governor Phil Murphy. It's a disgrace. Bill Spadia's not MAGA. He's just another Trump-attacking phony.
I've said this before. President Trump failed. I think it is time for new blood.
Bill, it is time to apologize. Do it now, before you make an even bigger fool of yourself. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of, or in consultation with, or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or candidates committee. 7816 Rose Garden Lane, Springfield, Virginia 22153.
Mother's Day the Mazzio way. How about fruit flowers, a gift basket, or chocolate-covered strawberries? It's all there at BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield. Plus, plenty of delicious cakes and pies for your Mother's Day celebration. BF Mazzio online at bfmazzio.com. Plus, charcuterie boards and many other gourmet items. Believe it or not, BF Mazzio is your Mother's Day headquarters for all kinds of specialty items. BF Mazzio, wishing all the moms a happy Mother's Day.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. Mostly cloudy this afternoon, warmer with high 64. Cloudy tonight with a couple of showers late, low 46. Mother's Day tomorrow, mostly cloudy, cooler with a thunder shower, high 56 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, sunny, pleasant, and warmer with a high up to 70. Tuesday, cloudy with a couple of showers on the way, high 73. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, before we get back into the program, I want to congratulate our boss, Mike Rubel, who took it upon himself the other day to go into BF Mazzio and purchase healthy snacks for the staff. Hey, he may not tell me he listens to this show, but believe me, he does listen because, what do I say? The finest fresh fruit and produce, and he wants to promote healthy snacks here in the office. He went there and paid for it himself. Isn't that amazing? Congratulations, Mike. At least you listen to me once in a while. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Steve in Egg Harbor Township. Steve, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I listen to your show whenever I can if I'm not fishing. But something's always in the back of my mind. You know, I listen to you, and I listen to Sean, and I listen to Mark Levin and all that. And I'm thinking, all the people that really, where this country really matters to them, that they love this country, they listen to the conservative talk shows.
That's right.
But the majority of people that don't like Trump or are not conservative or are left-wing, they never listen. And even the public that really doesn't understand what's going on because they're not listening to the right people, they can't, they have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Because there's no one telling them that. Now,
that's right.
That seems to be a huge problem to me because then the mainstream media sure as heck isn't going to, come out and give you the actual truth. They're going to bend it to make Biden and the lefties look good. Well, how the hell do you get to the people that need to know? The ones that got, like that gal that said, "Oh, they're putting up,
yes,
those windmills offshore."
Yeah.
She had no idea.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
And I think most of the people, I would bet you it's a majority of people, don't know what's happening and have no way of finding out because they watch the ABC or NBC or whatever them.
And that's enough.
And they read
that's enough. Yeah.
That they figure if it's on TV, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And they read the newspapers, and the newspapers are all, for the most part, very, very liberal. So how do you get to people? You can do it word of mouth, but they look at you and say, "Yeah, but it said this on so and so show," and I'm going, "Well, how do you get them to understand what's happening to their country?"
Yeah,
and that's the reason I call.
I will tell you, you'll like this story, Steve. When we were in the pandemic, I used to do the show from home because we weren't allowed in the studio and so on and so forth. And at the time, my cousin was living with me, and she was a flaming liberal, okay? And when I did the show, she would go into her room and shut the door and come out after the show and say, "Boy, your callers are nuts. I can't stand. What are you talking about? Your callers are crazy." And she would try to drown me out because she can't hear the callers, but she would try to drown me out. So that's what you're dealing with. Those are the kind of people you're dealing with.
Well, those people you're not going to make, they've got that old feeling, my mind's made up, don't confuse me with facts.
Right.
But those aren't the ones you need to get to because you're not going to change their minds. So
yes.
You're wasting your time.
That's right.
But how about the people that just don't have the knowledge? They don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
They just go, well, hey, it's costing me. I go to a restaurant, and a year and a half ago, the special on prime rib was $19, and you got a potato and dessert and all that stuff. Well, now it's $34 for the same special.
Whoa.
People don't. I mean, I'm going, are you kidding me? Don't people see what's happening?
Yeah.
And like I say, you can't get to the hard left people, the ones that don't want to listen. But how do you get to the vast majority of people and make them understand that, okay, maybe you don't like Donald Trump's personality. Fine. I can dig that. He does some things that I think are pretty stupid sometimes. But when I look at the results of what he did for this country, I go, hey, I may not like the man he may not be my best buddy, but he sure as heck knows what to do to make this country great again.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
That's how I look at it.
Me too.
If he wants to send out a tweet that people disagree with, fine. Maybe he shouldn't do that. But that's Donald Trump. He's a businessman. He goes head first. He it takes on all comers, and that's how it works.
Yes.
And I don't understand. I can't figure a way to get to those people and give them the message, because whatever we say, even if you get to individuals and you're able to give them some facts and show them and compare the last 4 years to the previous 4 years, then they'll go and they'll listen to the radio or mostly TV, I guess, and they'll watch ABC Evening News and stuff, and they'll end up saying, "Well, who's right here? It must be correct because it's on TV," and
That's
they
right.
can't lie.
Well,
So,
the numbers.
What do you do?
The numbers are against us, Steve, because if you watch ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNBC, all of those are on that side. The only one that we have is Fox, and then to a lesser extent, Newsmax, or some of the other lesser that they don't have the coverage Fox does. So really, it's only Fox against. So it's 1 against 6, or
Well, the people that the mainstream media is constantly putting out messages about how the only people who listen to Fox or to Newsmax or to there's another one now too on online. The folks that listen to that are just all radicals.
Yes,
and, they're right wing radicals, and they're So how do you defeat that? We need to get a message to people and give them the truth.
Yes.
And I don't see how to do that. Because you like you say, it's 6-1.
Yeah. Well, you just got to keep the message out there, and you got to keep hoping that maybe this show and Harry and the others here in the station, we just develop more listeners. That's really all that we can do, Steve. And thanks a lot for the call. A good message. Greg and Absecon. Greg is back. Welcome back, Greg. Yes, sir.
The ad that you're running in the beginning of the show, counterpoint regarding Trump.
Yes.
It's a fantastic ad. It is really well directed.
Yes.
Educational, which is great.
Yes. By the way, I want to tell you something about that. A station in Philadelphia refused to air that.
Okay, what's your name?
Oh, stupid. Well, it's normal for Philadelphia.
Yes.
They head the wrong way all the time, too.
That's right. So just thought you'd like to hear that. Go ahead.
Right. Subject number 2, Biden and normalcy have never intercepted each other.
No.
At all. If he sees the sign, he heads the opposite way, and it's always been the wrong way. So,
yes.
Unfortunately for us.
That's right. That's right.
And clams. The clam industry, and we had a son that clammed. The wholesalers would not buy the clams unless they knew you.
Oh, how about
that?
Local. How about that?
And the waters you clammed had to be approved by them. It sounds crazy.
Oh.
And then you had to be approved by your contemporaries, the kids that you were out there with clamming. They had to second the arrival into the wholesalers. This guy's legit. He's with us. And that's how it's like in a closed society that the clams are protected, and the purchasing public also, because it's a sealed community. Sounds crazy, but that's why nobody dies from them.
Yeah, the clams where I used to live in Brigantine, they clammed right behind me because I lived on the bay, and they used to clam right behind my house there. There were all kinds of traps there. And
constantly moving water.
Yes, they're and the guy down the street from me, he had a business, a wholesale business that sold clams. So I just thought of that because that's part of the fishing industry, and that's an industry we have, and it may destroy that. I don't know. It just may.
I hope not.
Yeah,
it's an income for an awful lot of people down here.
That sure is. It sure is.
And not inexpensive to do. You got to buy a boat, a motor, all the equipment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And that's how the kids, they grow up on these waters.
That's right. That's right. And
they love them.
You know, here's Phil Murphy. He's going to leave in a little over a year. I mean, his term is up in the beginning of 25. So next year we're going to have a governor election. And and he's going to be bye Phil, because he doesn't even live here. You know,
he's going to Italy.
He's going to Italy. Yeah, he's going to live there. Hey, boy, yeah, Phil. Hey, I was governor of New Jersey. Yeah, and you ruined this.
Yeah, here's your ticket home.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, Greg, thanks for the call. Tony in EHT. Tony, good morning.
Hello. I'm a Trump voter. I voted for him in 16, 20, and I'm going to vote for him again in 24.
Same here.
And the polls are nice, showing him way ahead, or not way ahead, but showing him ahead. But if you'll think back to 2016, Hillary was ahead the whole year.
Yes.
And Trump beat her.
Yes.
So I think everybody should be cautious about
I
these
agree.
polls.
I agree, because, I mean, the polls, you know, going way back to Ronald Reagan, you know, before that election, they said, well, it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. And what did Reagan win? 48 states? I mean, so it may be this way. I don't know.
Yeah, you just got to be cautious in your thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, like I say, she led the whole year. She was always ahead.
She did. And she campaigned as if she was ahead and as if she was going to win. And she could not believe when she lost that she lost.
Correct. I think the voters at that time, because Trump was only a television personality.
Yes.
I think the voters voted against her.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's my opinion.
She was not a likable candidate. Tony, thanks for the call. I agree with everything you said. Rodney in EHT. Rodney, good morning.
Hey, John. I think that they should restore the Beasley's Point power station, and maybe they could put a nuclear station over there, or like Seth Grossman was saying, one that would be running on natural gas. That would be very practical.
I'm for that. I'm all for that.
What would happen if a business went ahead and decided to go ahead and restore that power station? Well, who would stop them?
Well, there's a lot of red tape, and I could see a lot of I would say administrative people, those kind of people that may stop it. I mean, zoning or whatever. Who knows? You know, there's a million people behind the scenes when you try to do something. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable the bureaucracy that we have.
It's almost impossible to make checks and balances work.
Right. That's right. So I'm for that, and that would be a good idea. And it would have to be somebody that has a lot of money and has a pair of you-know-whats who doesn't care.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. That's one person. Yeah, that's right.
Somebody should bring that up down at the when they're going to have that thing this afternoon.
Yes, that's right. You going?
No, I'll listen to her on the radio.
Me too.
Okay, John.
Thanks a lot for the call. Final call of the morning. Al in Corbin City. Al, good morning. Welcome. Al? Are you there? Is Al there? I hear something. Well, is he there? No? Okay. Well, we not there. Oh, well. Well, Al, if you want to call back, you got about 3 minutes? Okay. Well, we have uncovered a lot of things today. One of the things we didn't decide is who is Trump going to pick for his vice president. And that's always a mystery and will continue to be so for, I guess, we're going to hear sometime in July. The convention is in Milwaukee in July, I believe, or in June. I don't know when it is, but we will hear then. But we heard some names, and the consensus seems to be maybe Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard. Many of you do not like Tim Scott. Many of you do not like Nikki Haley. So, who knows? Who knows who is going to be the vice presidential nominee? There may be somebody we don't know. And do you think Trump would pick a woman? Do you think maybe Kristi Noem? Although now she's getting some negative publicity with her killing her dog 20 years ago. I shot the dog. I mean, do you believe that this is what we discussed today? Shooting a dog 20 years ago because the dog was attacking the children. And as I said last week, and I'll say it again this week, if that's my grandchildren and the dog attacks, bye-bye dog. Oh, yeah, I here you go. My niece had a dog, and it was one of these, it was a puppy, and she decided to get the dog because she had one child at the time. And the dog started biting the child, who at the time was, I think, 4 years old. And you know what she did? She got rid of the dog. Now, she didn't shoot it, although her husband has a couple of guns, but he didn't shoot it. They gave it away. So that's what I have to say about that. Kristi Noem doesn't shoot dogs all the time. And that's why they have rescue animals, okay? People like that there's a live video of the rally on our website, WPGTalkRadio.com. How about that? WPG comes to the rescue. So if you want to watch it, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to watch the rally on our website. Oh, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer. Thanks to you, our listeners and our callers, because without you, there is no me, as I always say. Carmen Murata is up next with his Tony March show, and we thank you for listening. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk to you next Saturday. Talk with a Purpose, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.